Friday. We are back for another
Hey, hey,
episode of A2HH Live. Welcoming everybody in the YouTube world. And what's going on with you, Coop? How you doing, man?
doing wonderful, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. We actually had a lot of new music that dropped on today. I mean, the
It is.
Dave East drop. I didn't get a chance to get to the Logic album, but
Me
the
neither.
Isaiah Rashad, man, that was
That's what. Yeah,
that.
that's why
That's
you
what.
didn't get the Logic's album.
Go ahead.
I said that's why you didn't get the Logic's album.
It isn't because it had a lot of replay value for me. The Isaiah Rashad. That was actually the first album that I woke up to this morning. So I made it a point to put that one on. I didn't even go to social media to see what people were talking about. And it's funny, I don't know if they were reading my algorithm or whatever, but I posted on my personal page about the song R.I.P. Young. And then I go to Twitter, it's like the number one thing trending.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So
That's
people are
one of
really.
my favorites. That's one of my favorites. So I'm glad to hear that.
That's one of my favorites too. That song and actually the song right after it. But again, I'm sort of biased to Triple Six Mafia and their old stuff. So when you recycle riding in the Chevy, or you take Cheese and Dope from Project Pat, and then you amplify it and update it, it's very tough for me not to like that, man. But yeah, they did their thing on that project. We're gonna talk a little bit deeper about that. Someone in the chat says, Melanin Man, excuse me, says Royce is losing some credibility with this beef.
We're
Woo!
gonna talk
Let's
about
get
that.
into it. Let's
You
get
want to
into
talk
it.
about that now? Yeah,
Let's talk about that now.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
a couple of weeks ago when this thing was brewing,
Very
originally,
problematic.
before, any records dropped, you said you had Royce in this.
That
And
is
for what, I felt like, just some of the work, the pen work that I'd seen from Lupe and Mickey Fax and those guys, and just the way Lupe approached the whole situation when he was on the live, I picked Lupe, and this is kind of how I thought it was going to go down.
No,
I
you
mean,
didn't think it
what's
was
your
going down like.
take? Oh,
Well,
huh?
first of all, you didn't think that it was going down like this. Nobody's seen it going down like this. So no, you didn't think it was going down like this. That's the first thing. Like, let's go ahead and clear that up. You didn't think it was going down like this. None of us thought it was going down like this. Most of us, no matter which side you chose, you respected the other side. So you didn't think the other person was just about to just totally fade the other person
Well,
like into a beyond, which is what we need to talk about. That's on the brink of happening in terms of some credibility. If there
yeah.
isn't, I mean, Mike. I mean, we haven't talked in a couple days, Mike. Mike, I texted you a couple days ago, and I was like, I need to hear some shit like today or by the time I wake up tomorrow. That was like a day or two ago.
Well, okay. Let me clarify. I in no way predicted that Lupe would respond as swiftly as he has, and and just with so much mass. I mean, he dropped like 4 songs
The swift, the
yesterday.
swiftness, the swiftness to me is overrated because I don't think like it's an all-time like great diss track. I think
Right.
like I think what gives the diss track its credibility is the swiftness. But those
Mm-hmm.
are two separate things, kind of too. It's like no. It's like when Jay pulled the picture of Prodigy when Prodigy was in the dance school.
So, what do you think about Mickey Fax's response with Ray?
That I actually found that to be scathing in a better diss than Lupe's. Actually, what did you
Oh,
think?
oh yeah. I think it is probably the best diss record on the whole in this whole I guess melee, if you will.
Oh, definitely that. It's definitely that.
And I think it's
That's your
another
boy.
one that people
Look,
didn't
look,
see
look, look.
coming.
Look, that's your boy. He went crazy.
He did, man. And him taking on the whole ransom and RJ Payne's style to do it, I thought was very creative. These guys are
Very
getting a
innovative.
lot of creative points with this, and I think the biggest thing, and it's probably what Melanin Man is speaking on, and you can expound upon this yourself, Melanin Man, in the chat. The fact that Royce started this is what it kind of.
No,
Go ahead.
I mean, did he really start it?
Well, you know what? He actually didn't started because Lupe kind of inserted himself, but
because he's the one that probably crossed the boundary
right.
first in terms of the name calling. So I think that's what you're referencing to.
Right. That is what I'm referencing to, and to
Right.
getting it to a point where there were going to be records.
Well, like across the line. Like I told you, Mike. Like I mean, my stance hasn't like changed too much, even after hearing facts.
Mm-hmm.
Like which I said is better. It doesn't change like really my stance on like what Roy's supposed to be doing right now. It's like, no, you called that man a bitch,
right?
And you have to go handle that about that.
So what do you think Royce does next? Do you think we're gonna expect a record? Because the last post that he did, and maybe I haven't been updated. I'm gonna go double check, but one of the posts that we put up there after Mickey Fax dropped his record was him saying basically, y'all want to gang up on me. I got MC friends too. Now, I mean, is the next move to pull somebody else in, or?
See, I told you, Mike, I didn't. See, you asked me last week, like, do I think, like, M should jump in? I was like, hell no. Like, I don't like that. I don't like the look of that at all because it's like you already got faded once. Now you've been faded twice. So now when you go get help, it looks like it's because you're in a desperate state of desperation. Like, you need the help. That's why I told you, like, once Lupe dropped what he dropped, like, asking for help was kind of out the question after that for me.
Well, he always helps Eminem. He jumps in. Well,
the credibility is different.
I'm gonna say this. Even if there's nothing Eminem can do to help him. Eminem is so far removed from the battle scene. He's not going to jump in and, beat somebody like a Lupe or Mickey Fax on wax. It's just not going to happen in 2021. Royce has a better chance of doing it himself. Because...
I believe that. I believe Royce has a better chance of doing it himself. But, once again, you're being disrespectful to Eminem.
I mean, show and prove, man. Show and prove. Where the body's at?
No. This is the show and prove type of moment. And right now, like, Lupe and Fax and their crew are looking good. And Royce, not so much.
Because, Eminem, let's keep it a buck. He struggled against Machine Gun Kelly. He did. I don't even think he won that one, to be perfectly honest.
See, this is what I mean. This is why he doesn't really need to get involved. Like, this is kind of like, like styles make fights. It's like, do you think that Royce is out of his weight class? Like, in terms of Lupe? Do you feel that way? Is that why you picked Lupe?
As a writer, yes, I do. I mean, I think that, and it's not too far. I think that Melanin Man says, Royce out here copping pleas for help. I mean, yes, that's kind of like what the post was. Listen, I mean, I don't think he's out of his weight class in a sense where, Lupe's just light years ahead of him as an MC per se. But I think that the way that these guys approach writing, it's a little different, man. They're also, and Royce even acknowledged that by calling them nerds and all that. And they're embracing that and showing him the kind of work that nerds put in. I mean, listen, man, I reached out to Mickey Fax yesterday, it was.
Yeah.
And he was writing when I talked to him. So, it is what it is. Like, this is what these guys do. And I remember, when he came to the studio and did a freestyle for According to Hip Hop, I mean, it was just bars on bars on bars. And I mean, these guys do this. It's not one of those things where, they just do here and there. I mean, they're probably writing right now.
No. And I get that. And so what's more surprising about this, if you were to tell me that this happened live, I would find it more plausible and believable.
Mm-hmm.
But even the spectrum under which it is actually taking place, is more to Royce's advantage, and that's what I mean. It's like, I'm kind of like, what are you doing? Because it's like the way that it's been set up, it's to your advantage in terms of style wise to make the records and to produce a song. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mike, I can't qualify. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on.
Melanin Man says, and I don't understand why he didn't expect to get this kind of energy. Exactly. You call
No,
him a
that's what Mike.
bitch. What the fuck you think Lupe's gonna do? Yeah.
Mike, was I not saying the same exact things? It's like, no, I was excited about it because it's like I gave Royce the advantage, but that wasn't to knock Lupe. It's like when we talked last week, and I was like, in a vacuum, top 10 lyricists, you were like, yeah, and I was like, well, me too. So like Lupe is that. I don't know if you would say that about Royce as a lyricist in a vacuum, but it's like I told you, Mike, for the totality of things, I would take Royce, and I would take Royce in this circumstance, and it's like I almost feel like he hasn't flexed his muscle or the things that he has advantages about. Like, he's not about to win the bar game with Lupe, but he can win every other game, and he hasn't. And that's why I was so surprised that he went first. I told you, Mike, like even the first move, the strategic misstep, it's like you called this man a bitch, and then you went first after he antagonized you. It's like, I didn't understand it from the jump.
I guess he underestimated Lupe and didn't think that he was going to get a record right away. I don't know. But that's the misstep. I mean, because if you're going to put the bait out there, once the bait is bitten, then you got to come with something for real, for real. And now the records are piling up. And it's similar to what Marshall was dealing with when it came to MGK. It's like, okay, now we're waiting 2 weeks, and
No.
you got Kill Shot, and this is what I'm saying. Whatever Royce puts out now, it has to be exceptional, and the longer he waits, and that's the time game that we're playing now. You know what I'm saying? And I know you say that the time part of it's overrated, but what time does is it makes the expectations higher.
Yeah,
because if he comes with a record that's crazy, we're gonna forget about the time.
So I'm glad that you said that. So in the most epic battle that we've come to know, there was about a 3-month gap between the takeover and Ether, wasn't there?
Maybe longer than that, but I mean, those are different times,
No, I mean, no. But I say this to say, it's like, I mean, Mike, and you remember this?
Yeah.
People literally thought Nas's whole career was over.
I did, especially coming off of Nostradamus.
Oh yeah,
at the place that Jay was at the time, and I know Jay-Z's huge to people now, but at that point, where Jay was at his highest and he was coming with hit after hit, and lyrically was where he was, and everything that he was dropping was going. And Nas had just come out with I Am, which was questionable. It had some good moments. And then he dropped Nostradamus. And then this happens. Yes, I thought Nas was done.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying about how time really doesn't matter like that. And it kind of gives credence to what you said. We only thought he was done because of the gap and the length of time that it took the record. Things haven't changed as much as you think. We thought he was done because we didn't hear nothing for almost 3 or 4 months from him. Like, nothing at all, really. And so... And so then it goes back to what you say. It's like, oh no, Royce got to come with something now.
Well, people in the chat are saying what I'm saying. Not to interrupt, but Rodriguez says different times we're in a microwave era now. Ken says those are different times. This is Twitter, Instagram world now. I agree with that. I mean, I think that the speed matters, but I do think when you finally do come with a record, it's got to be worthy. And I think what we've seen in this microwave era, if you will, the longer a person takes, they never really deliver that expectation. We saw it with Meek Mill, right? Because Meek Mill took a minute.
No, I was about to go to that. I think people are missing what I'm trying to say. I'm saying all that shit don't matter if the first record Royce dropped was dope as fuck anyway.
Right.
So when you're talking about the time that y'all talking about, and all that Twitter stuff y'all are talking about, it wouldn't matter if the first record Royce dropped was proper. We wouldn't be having that conversation about the time, though, would we?
But see, this is the thing, though, Coop.
So no. So hold on. So the record still matters more than the time. And
But see, this is the thing,
the
Coop.
record still stands because even then and even now, the record still matters more than the time.
It does. But see, this is the thing, Coop. I don't think that we've seen in this microwave era anybody who waited and took their time and actually delivered. That's what we haven't seen. Because even with Pusha, when Drake dropped Duppy Freestyle, he came right back.
I mean, truthfully, for as long as he's had an issue, who's to say how many bars and songs haven't been, you know what I'm saying? Like loaded, like loaded.
But I'm saying, but that is important though, because you got to get. I mean, with this era of how we do things, momentum matters, and you can't lose momentum.
No. So this is what I mean when I'm saying the time doesn't matter. His failure was more strategic. That's what I'm saying. It's like when you're talking about Push. No, I'm like, no, Pusha probably had shit locked and loaded already, and just had to start piecing parts together and finishing things up because he's already in go mode because he's understanding the times. You get what I'm saying?
But I agree with that.
Royce wasn't just disrespectful to the competition. He was kind of disrespectful like to the art and to the craft of it. It's like you talking this shit. Like when Lupe saying go practice, it's like not to be funny, you really should be going to practice.
But see, in this battle, I think time. In this battle, I think time matters in a sense where this is about skillfulness, right? And I think the way that Lupe and Mickey are able to respond in the manner that they're able to respond and the time frame they're able to respond shows a level of skill. What he did when he sat there and learned his verse and spit it right back at him within an hour's time, that was a skill test. You know what I'm saying?
No. I dig that. Okay, so check this out. Like I was reading this story one time a long time ago about like Frank Sinatra, like when he was older and he like started forgetting the lyrics to some of his songs. And so he got on a plane one time and he just wrote down the words to the song the entire time he was on the plane. It was like a flight from like New York to like Vegas or something. Like he just wrote down the words to the song the whole time. And by the time he got off the plane, he had it memorized. Like even at an old age, he was in his craft, even when he was forgetful and forgetting. And so what I'm talking about, so while Fax and Lupe are in the constant habit of practicing, at the point that Lupe said practice, no, Royce really should have been practicing because you've been doing it long enough that your muscle memory kicks in at a certain point.
Right.
So the things that they're doing, he's capable of doing. And and it's showing that they work at it all the time, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
And so his missteps are with the order, with the song, with the craft, and with all those things being said, at that point, it's like, fam, you need to take your time and deliver.
And what's funny, what does a nerd do? What does a nerd do? Study.
Right.
And studying is what? Practice. Right? And it's
discipline.
Yeah, and it's funny that they were getting, I guess, teased for that very thing, practicing and being on your craft. You know what I mean?
So how about this? Like maybe I overestimated Royce because I considered Royce to be kind of rap nerdish too. Like Mike, if this was Thought right now, this shit wouldn't be going on.
We've never seen Thought in a situation like this, but I don't think it would be.
What I'm saying is Thought, it's the type of like Royce rhymes next to Thought.
Yeah.
Like dealing with regularity, so his caliber and his clarity is there as an MC. And it's like, you know, how long is it taking to write these verses? How long is it taking to piece together and put together what he's crafting or putting together?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they are exposing him a little bit. And it's like at the point that you've been exposed, at the point that he's being exposed, it's like, oh, we talking about the time? It's like, no, nigga, we ain't talking about time. We talking about practice.
Speaking about time and practice and all that, and I did want to ask you this, and I know you brought up Ether, and Ether came out, December 4th, 2001.
It came out on Jay's birthday?
Yeah, it came out on Jay's birthday. Yeah, he did that. And the takeover, I guess we could say the takeover technically came out September 11th, right?
Yeah, it's like
But we heard pieces of it
4 months.
before then.
We didn't hear the Nas part at Summer Jam. We didn't hear the Nas
you're
part
right.
until the album came out, and so that was like late September.
Right. So I mean, is there an example out there in the digital era of somebody who waited and came with a record in that fashion?
Okay, so like, what was Drake's response to like a couple of Pusha T's responses? You get what I'm saying?
Well, Duppy Freestyle, he dropped that. He dropped that right after Infrared. I think it was before.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying, Mike. So but what about Exodus?
Well, there was no real response to that.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like you can't talk about time. It's like Drake. It actually took Drake getting dissed a couple times before he even responded.
Well, okay, I'm talking about when things are in full-fledged, right? And you have a shot and a response. Has anyone ever really waited? You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, his response to Infrared was damn near immediate.
Yeah, didn't go as well as Back to Back.
No, it didn't. It's a whole different rapper.
No. That's that pressure too, Mike. That's why I'm saying like that time don't matter as much as the quality of a record maker. Nobody remembers the Duppy Freestyle. Everybody remembers Back to Back. Nobody the time don't start coming into play when you start actually remembering the time of the records. Like the quality of the record is what matters. There's no time date or stamp on that.
I like Charged Up too. And what's so crazy is like I liked it. I mean, in Back to Back, he even spoke to the fact that I already put out something. I'm on another one. So, yeah, I mean, it's like...
So how about this? Like, I feel like that's kind of when things change is actually when he did that to me.
It is. I think that, honestly, if we want to keep it 100, I think that Back to Back might have been the start of a whole new era of diss records on wax. That's when the memes came in, all that.
Right. So, see, but this is what I mean. So the notoriety of it is different when Drake is doing it. That might not be the pace and the template that's really set for the culture and for the craft of MCing. Because now let's talk about the craft of MCing. Would you put Drake in the category of a Royce or a Lupe?
No.
And so it's not fair to compare the pace, and if he's the one that set the pace, it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's why that time shit don't matter. You got to start looking at certain intricacies, like who set the pace. If Drake's the one that set the pace on how a battle should go, then that's not the pace how a battle should go.
Well, they were trying to do that even when Pusha T responded, right? They were saying that certain things shouldn't have been said.
Like what I'm saying is that really what happened with Drake and Meek was something that was arbitrary. Like, here's the thing, like Drake could have been getting inside information, like, this nigga Meek over here struggling to make a response.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And he could be like, oh shit, I'm about to go back in and go fade this nigga again then. You know what I mean? That could have been a strategic move. That didn't necessarily be something that needs to set the pace like in battle on wax necessarily. And that's why I'm saying the time don't matter. Because if the record's not dope, we're not gonna be talking about how long all this stuff took.
Well, the reason why I say time matters, and there's a lot of reasons, but
we're just gonna talk about how Lupe and Facts just wax Royce. That's what.
I feel you, but see, you know how fast things come off of, they're not trending topics anymore, right? It's almost like you have to respond while you're still a trending topic, because if it goes away for a minute and then you come with something.
So, Mike, but is it our culture that's saying that, or is it another culture that's saying that? Because Drake's following is different. Is that like the pop culture saying that, or is that hip hop culture saying that?
I don't think it's Drake setting that pace. I just think it's the pace of social media. I think that when a story's gone, it's gone. Even like with the hashtags, right? Like when something happens to somebody and they become a hashtag, after a minute, people ain't talking about it no more, unfortunately. And we still need justice for Breonna Taylor, right? Like, it's just what it is. Like, in this era of just so much news in the atmosphere and new things happening all the time, it's like artists have to kind of respond while they're still in that news cycle. That's where the time comes in at.
No, but that okay. So Mike, when you say that, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, says who? Since when was when did hip hop had to have to conform to any sort of standards? Like this is a culture that's based on like color and outside of the lines and the boxes. Like who are we to conform to that?
I agree with that, but I just think that the fans dictate everything, and the fans are the ones that are caught up in the news cycles.
See, okay, so that's why I bring up Drake because it's like, well, that's different when it's Drake and Meek. They got a whole other different like type of following that don't even really got a lot to do with rap sometimes. You get what I'm saying? Like this is on some rap shit. And so like what I'm saying is it time wise, well like maybe Royce need to treat it like it's some rap shit and not like it's some pop culture, like cause that might not be what he's good at. And so maybe he need.
Why do you think that he hasn't responded yet? Do you think that he wants to do it at his own pace? Do you think he can't keep up with their pace, or what is it?
So, Mike, I'm going to tell you this. I mean, and you've been in the studio before, and so have I, and you've written a lot of songs, and so have I. I find it very problematic that he hasn't responded.
Yeah.
I find very problematic.
At least with a verse.
I mean, Mike.
Yeah.
A week max to come with some heat. Truthfully, if you just want to like hear it from me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, man, like how long does it take to make a song for real?
No. This is what you do for a living.
Yeah.
This is what you do.
And what's more important than that right now? Especially when it was something that you was all in on.
Enough to call the man out his name.
Yeah, so you know, it is what it is. I'm going to take a drink to that. Let's talk about this Nas album, man.
Hold on, Mike, and before we go, I just want to say he's making me look very bad. Making me look very bad. I'm gonna say that shit again. Very bad. Like because it's not like that wasn't heat. It was like I was like, okay, that's a dope record. You a dope MC. Like and then he got roasted. Then he got roasted again. And then he was like, was he in a Hawaiian shirt talking shit, Mike? Was that a Hawaiian shirt with his like collar open and shit? I was like, Mike.
It looked like he was in Dubai or something. It looked like he had some.
Like when I seen the shirt, I ain't even listened to the footage. I was just like, no, I'm out right now. Because like he missing the point right now.
And all the fans are saying exactly what you're saying. While these guys are...
I need to see you in your hoodie right now. I don't care if it's like an Armani hoodie. I don't care if it's a Versace hoodie. Like I need to see you in your hoodie right now.
Well, I mean, even to speak to that, it's like some of the fans were saying, while you're sitting here on Instagram posting, these guys are writing and recording and spitting.
I was like, what kind of corny ass shirt? Anyway, you know.
Yeah. But again, man, some people, how do I say? I'll say this respectfully.
You in battle right now. What is you doing? Like you in battle right now. You out here getting roasted. Like stop. Like that whole playing it cool. Like no.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people who have come from the battle scene, from a certain era, they're so removed from it that when it happens, you're like a deer in the headlights. Like you thought you were ready, but you weren't.
Mike, ain't nobody trying to hear that shit.
I'm just
you called that man out his name. Ain't nobody trying to hear that shit.
I think he thought he was ready, and obviously he didn't think that a response would come that soon. Again, I think that's where time comes in at it, right? I think that he got hit in the mouth by how quick it came. Because like you said, it's not the best diss record ever. Actually, Mickey has the best diss record in these. But I think that he came so quick.
Hold on. How about this? Or any of these three records even top 20 diss records to you?
I gotta think about it. Maybe the Mickey one, but again,
Race maybe might hit the back end depending on who you ask, right?
Right.
Right. So it's like, come on, dude. It's like it's not even like you got hit with a no Vaseline.
Right.
You didn't get hit with the fish in you. Like you didn't get hit with that. You didn't get hit with the ether. You didn't get with the takeover. Like you didn't get hit with no. So when you talking about he got hit in the mouth, it's like no, he didn't get hit in the mouth, Mike. He got jabbed.
He got jabbed by the rapid pace though, Coop. Because if he would have came the next day with another average record, people would have been okay with that. Okay, let's keep it going. But now, since you wait, you got to hit people with a, like you said, no jabs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, so like, really, what he got hit with, Lupe hit him with a jab, and then he got hit with a hook.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And he ain't really landed no punches yet. But that doesn't mean that the fight's over. But motherfucker, you have to fight.
Yeah, but I mean, I just don't know what to think about that. I don't know what to think about that comment of basically saying that he got MC friends too. Like, what does that mean?
I don't like that at all.
Yeah. Well,
let's go to something I like.
Hit Boy and Nas have announced, or Nas announced that King's Disease 2 is dropping next Friday. Can't wait till we talk about it. And we were wondering if Hit Boy was going to produce the whole thing again. Then, Nas put out a post on his Instagram with him and Hit Boy and a whole bunch of photos, basically saying, we running it back. What do you expect from King's Disease 2? And are you happy about Hit Boy and Nas hooking up again for a whole album?
Ambivalent about the hookup.
Okay.
Yeah. Always excited about a Nas project. With a major artist such as Nas, a lot always comes with the project.
Right.
There's always talk of status, placement, catalog, etc. The normal stuff that comes with somebody of his stature. We've been discussing him a lot because he's actually, surprisingly, Mike, been more active than anybody from his era since we've been kind of going live and like doing this and really like which is crazy to say. Like the dude that used to like being notoriously like reclusive and like moving at like what people thought was a slow pace that was preventing him from certain stature is like, I told you, Mike, the other day, like behind the scenes, the last time we talked, like he's moving like at a Jay-Z, Lil Wayne pace, like in their prime pace.
Nas has dropped 4 albums, if you want to count Lost Tapes too, in 4 years. So we're talking about Nasir in 2018, Lost Tapes 2 in 2019, King's Disease in 2020, and this would be King's Disease 2 in 2021. He's never made efforts at this pace.
Ever.
Yeah, not even in his prime. I think that he came out in 99 with I'm sorry. It was 98 with I Am. And 99 with Nostradamus. But then Mike, he skipped to...
See, but Mike, even with that, it's deceiving. That was still an 18-month gap. Because I Am was like March or April of 98. And Nostradamus was like November, December 99.
Right.
So it wasn't like 11, 12 months. It was like, 18, 19 months.
And then there was I guess you would say a break. It was a year gap where Stillmatic came out in 2021. But he did drop Godson in 2020. I'm sorry, not 2021. 2001. And then he did drop Godson in 2002.
So that was another thing. This is what I mean. When he starts moving like this, it brings into question certain things. It's like, well, what was his actual prime, Mike? Because when you actually start looking at his projects and his catalog, he has some pieces all over the place in different eras. And so this is that GOAT shit that I'm talking about, Mike. I'm starting to feel like it's like, well, dude ain't really had a prime. Like, he had that lightning.
I think so. For me, I think Nas's prime is 94 to 98.
No.
To me.
I wouldn't even say to 98. I mean, if you're talking lyrically, like, I feel like every MC lyrically has a prime where their tools are at their zenith, and those tools are just on display. You know what I'm saying? And so in that case, I feel that way about most MCs, Mike. Most MCs have about a 2, 3, 4 year run lyrically where they're just somewhere and it's special. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Ghost had that from like pretty much from Wu-Tang Forever to Supreme Clientele. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like everything that dude's spitting right now is like really, really special, and people need to take note. Yeah. And so if you want to talk about Nas's prime lyrically, oh yeah, that's pretty much from the time he walked into somewhere where you're hearing Nas's like,
Yeah, yeah. Again, 94, 98 to me.
Right.
Now, if we're
No,
talking about Andre 3000 in his prime, to me, it's more of a 96 to 2000 thing.
see, but Mike, this is what I'm saying. But what I'm
98
saying,
at his best.
see, but Mike, but what I'm saying, when you're talking about him now, and now you're talking about his career, it's like, oh, that might have been his prime as an MC, but that might not have been his prime as an artist, Mike. Because
Okay.
when you start stacking up his catalog, you're gonna find that in that prime,
Mm-hmm.
only 2 albums are really gonna make the cut, or what's probably gonna be like on the top end of his 7 albums. You get what I'm saying? Like after Illmatic and It was written, everything that's like truly great from him got released after '98. Stillmatic, Godson, Lost Tapes, Life is Good, King's Disease.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest right
It's
now.
he's all over the place. So lyrically he had a prime, but artist wise he hasn't had a prime. Especially if King's Disease 2 is as good as King's Disease, he definitely artistically hasn't had any. Like you could call this his artistic prime, Mike. In terms
Possibly.
of quality of work consistently, if King's Disease 2 is as good as his King's Disease 1 or even better, I hope it's more gutter. Like I hope it's more
Yeah.
Nas shit on there.
Well, I was just about to speak to that. If you ask me, I'm not a big fan of the connection of Hit Boy and Nas. I think that if I were ranking the producers that he's worked with in his career, I don't even know if Hit Boy cranks that top 5 when it comes to working with Nas. To me,
No. Well,
um,
I mean, first of
I like more Trackmasters records with Nas than I do Hit Boy.
that's because that was Nas in his lyrical prime. So you're gonna listen to
Yeah.
Take It in Blood, like
Shootouts.
like because that got crazy because can't nobody rap like that guy. So of course Trackmasters sound better. That's really not Trackmasters.
Did
That's Nas.
Trackmasters make Blazer 50? I think they might have.
I feel like they might have. I feel like Stout himself actually might have made Blazer 50.
Okay.
I think Nas might have co-produced Blazer 50 or something like that. You want to know what? So I'll give you that. But Mike, you want to know what? This is one of the things that I was about to say. Nas is one of the few guys that it's like, well, if Nas tell you that he wants you to do his whole project, there's literally not anybody in rap that's saying no to that as a producer. It's like, I want you to do my project. So you're not gonna knock Hit Boy like nobody can really knock Hit Boy in this situation. If Nas wants Hit Boy
Uh-huh.
to do his project, Hit Boy ain't saying no to that.
Well,
Who's
I'm
saying-
not. I would never knock Hit Boy for that. And with that being said, if that's the case, why is Hit Boy the person that we're getting?
And so I'm going to go back to what I said about King's Disease. Mike, Nas, in very few times in Nas's career has Nas sounded like a current rapper. I tell people this all the time. When you're listening to Illmatic, I want you to understand you're listening to hip hop from 1988 to 1993, not hip hop in 1994. If you want to
Right.
listen to hip hop in 1994, go listen to Ready to Die, go listen to Funkified, go listen to Southern Player Listed.
Right.
If you want to hear about hip hop from 1988 to 1993, go listen to Illmatic. Nas has never been a current MC. King's Disease is one of the few times where he's current, and he's ahead amongst head. He knows it, and so he's playing off the victory.
What do you think draws him to Big Boy? I'm not Big Boy. Hit Boy as a producer. Because it kind of is an odd pairing, right? I mean, did you ever think that this would be a thing?
No, I never thought it would be a thing. I find it to be odd, and that's why the currency, and not like the money, I mean like the currentness of what Hit Boy brings to the table. Like it meshed really well. Like I told you, like Nas ain't made no bangers in a minute. He's made dope albums in a minute, but Spicy was a banger. 27 Summers was a banger. You know what I mean? Car 85, Blue Benz, like no, those records hit. What Full Circle with The Firm, 10 Points, All Bad with Anderson .Paak, like that was a dope project. And so, although the pairing was surprising, it would have worked well. I feel like I don't feel as the way you do totally about Hit Boy after listening to King's Disease, but I do feel like this King's Disease would have been better had Hit Boy done about 80% of the project and not the whole 100. As in, I would have liked to hear Alchemist.
I would like to have heard Alchemist do the whole thing. I think.
hold on. You want to know what I really thought about today? It would have been nice to even hear somebody who's made their mark with Griselda, like Derringer, who has a modern formula, so to speak, on a hip hop soundscape. It would have been nice to even him like get something from Derringer, like since the thing, because for me, what I see is him like keeping it current and keeping pace with the time. This is the first time he's trying to keep pace with the times, and it's like, well, if that's the case, go get the hip hop shit from the guys that's current. Go get Derringer and Beat Butcher out of Griselda. Don't tell me Derringer and Beat Butcher ain't gonna give Nas a beat.
But see, I think personally, just listening to Nas as a fan, I think Nas wants to get away from that quote unquote hip hop sound. I think that he's done that. I think that he wants to elevate his sound to, like you said, something more modern that 90s heads really aren't connecting with like that. And I think that's why he is working with Hit Boy at this point.
So, you know what, Mike? That's a possibility.
Because Hit Boy's not going to get him no grimy beats. And like you said, he knows who to go to for that grimy shit. And he can ask anybody to produce anything for him, and they're not going to tell him that no or they're busy.
See, it don't even got to be necessarily grimy. That's why I'm saying just like hip-hop based. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't forget, like, Havoc produced Wild. Like, every beat don't got to be grimy. It's just like some dudes know how to get into the pocket of her style. Like, you want to know what, Mike? Like, a lot of people think New York State of Mind is Nas's greatest song. And listen to the break loop, Mike, on there. Like Nas is a break loop MC. Go listen to his really best songs. Mike, go listen to Silent Murder.
Made You Look.
Made You Look. Yeah. The break loop, Mike. And
no, I agree.
So when you like, no, maybe he ain't trying to be on no rap shit. It's like, why? Like literally, like all of your best
But see,
songs.
you're speaking as a fan. I think, like you said, as an artist, he wants to do something different.
No, Mike, I'm speaking to what his catalog says he does best.
I agree with you, but
he knows what he does best.
You're a Prince fan, right? You're a Prince fan. Prince knew what.
I'm a bigger Prince fan than Nas fan. Like, damn,
I know,
Prince.
But I'm just saying. No.
Nas make Purple Rain or Sign of the Times.
But no, even Prince knew what he did best. But as an artist, he wanted to continue to try something different. That's what artists do. You know what I'm saying? And I think that Nas understands that, like you said, he is the best on beat breaks. He sounds the most comfortable on beat breaks. But he wants to try something different as an artist at this point in his career because I guess he can.
He's the best beat break rapper ever, Mike. Listen to Mike live at the barbecue. Go listen to the beat break, Mike.
Yo, I wanted to have this conversation with you too. We're gonna have we should do another show on this. And I was thinking maybe on Michael Jackson's birthday or something, man. I was on the road. And, I was listening to Purple Rain because I was just traveling up to Cleveland or whatever. And, Purple Rain is 9 songs. Thriller's 9 songs. 9 is an odd number. And I think that the way those albums line up, where it starts with Let's Go Crazy and Wanna Be Starting Something, I think that, and how it has Doves Cry at number 6 and Billie Jean at number 6. I think we could go song for song here and see who wins what? I think we should do a show like that.
Mike, so when you say that, and this is why I do think that Purple Rain is better than Thriller. And
I figured you would say that. So
no. So we just got to do this right quick. When I say that, I'm not saying like Purple Rain is like some like in some place that Thriller isn't, Mike. I mean, like, we talking about like Carl Lewis in his prime versus Usain Bolt in his prime. It's like that shit gonna be by a hair, Mike. Like it's by a hair, but style
ain't gonna be no ties. But
innovatively, no, because it's 9. But innovatively speaking, Prince is doing some things personally, musically, songwriting, and creatively that Michael Jackson's not doing on Thriller, and that's the difference.
It's 2 years older. Purple Rain's 2 years older than Thriller, too.
It's not a total 2 years older, Mike. I feel like it's more like a 19-month gap, if memory serves.
You're right, because Thriller came out November of 1982. I don't remember the exact month that Purple Rain.
I feel like Purple Rain is like March '84, something like that.
Okay, so yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, March, April '84. So like 19, 20 month gap. So also too, you want to know what? If you want to give Mike something, anything in that conversation, Prince got to listen to Thriller and see all that smoke.
Exactly. And honestly, it sounds like Prince actually listened to Thriller too because of the way he lined the album up.
Well, anyway, you can't tell me he didn't listen to Thriller.
Well, I mean, it sold 115 million records, so I guess everybody listened to Thriller.
At the time, 36 million worldwide, which was by far a record.
Yeah.
So he watched something epic occur, and he had to be thinking to himself, I think I'm a little bit more talented than that guy, though.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I think it was his engineer that was saying that, he went to Warner Brothers and was like, this nigga Michael Jackson gets this big budget for Thriller, a video. I want a movie. And that's how Purple Rain kind of came to be. So, obviously, it was in the mindset. Ken...
Mike, I think it's in the nuances of the album. So it's like playing the records in the reverse at the end of Darling Nikki before When Doves Cry come on.
Yeah.
It's the fact When Doves Cry doesn't have a bass line, Mike. It's the hook to When Doves Cry. It's the fact that Computer Blue, Mike, has two separate guitar bridges and a hook.
Yeah.
Mike, it's 1984. Ain't nobody doing two separate guitar bridges and a hook and a verse on a song. Like stylistically, that's what I'm saying. Innovative wise, like Mike, people weren't doing that on record on wax, including him.
You're right. You're right.
Like he wasn't doing that before. Like when you hear him on the guitar on Computer Blue, it's like, oh, that dude different. He done went somewhere else on the guitar.
You got PYT versus Baby I'm a Star. You got Human.
That's PYT, Mike. That's PYT.
You got.
I'm a Prince fan, and I'm saying that's PYT.
But I'm just saying, like, these songs are in the same vein almost. And you got Human Nature versus I Would Die for You. Like, this is how these albums line up.
That's Human Nature too. Actually, I'm gonna give both of those songs to Mike.
You know what? I'm gonna give Prince this one. Definitely The Beautiful Ones over The Girl Is Mine.
Yeah, that's
not even.
That's
all right.
not even.
Beautiful Ones is one of my favorite Prince songs.
Whole R&B 1985 ass conversation.
We're gonna do this on one of these episodes. It's just gonna dedicate it to that. We're gonna have both of these albums lined up. We're gonna have the fans, you guys, chiming in on this too. So we're not tripping. We might even do some polls on it. Just to take a break from a little bit of hip hop shit. You know what I mean?
Hey, Mike, I'm actually, and you know what type of Prince fan I really am. My 40th birthday is coming up in October. I'm actually thinking of going up to Paisley Park for my 40th.
Do it.
Right. Like if that happens, we can do that live from there, or we can wait till Mike's birthday or his birthday. I don't want to do either one of their deaths, but we can do their birthday.
Yeah. Ken says Alchemist is on record saying that he's not done with Nas. Saying he has not done with Nas, Premier, Pete Rock, and a whole lot of producers all want an album with Nasir. I think Nas just does what you expect. Nas never does what you expect. That's what I'm saying. Listen, we've said this in episodes before.
Is that the point? To be like the antithesis to what we want him
to
do?
Right. I heard from a concert promoter one time who he's worked with Nas, Kid Capri, these guys. But he mentioned them in particular because they want to stay current. They don't want to be on these old school tours. And so they make music currently to avoid getting into that spot, if that makes any sense. It has no disrespect to anybody, but it's when he said that, I understood a little bit more how Nas moves.
Well, hold on. Well, let's look at his New York rap contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't he the only person that's not on that old person circuit?
He is. And
he precedes Jay by a couple years. So for me, 96, 97 is kind of like the start of a different era for me, like with rap.
Right.
So they're not, even though they're tied a lot of ways, they're not tied era-wise to me totally. Because like I said, like Illmatic is a nostalgic piece.
Right.
It was written as one of Nas's few current pieces.
Yeah.
And so
it sounded like the time. It sounded like 1996.
It sounded like it was written sounds like 1996 stylistically speaking.
But
And
guys
so
that came out in 94, 96, even 97, they're on these old school tours, which I think is dope because you and I are actually about to go attend a very dope show tomorrow. Um, but that's more 80s oriented, hip hop. But
more
Nas,
originality. Yeah.
but not way it was explained to me. Nas creates an avoidance of having to be put in that box. And I think when we talk about Premier and all these guys, Nas feels like his fans are putting him in a box. And he doesn't want to be put in the box as an artist. And I think that's why he goes this way when it comes to working with certain producers. Because Alchemist, I think, would make a better album for Nas and the type of Nas album that I would want to hear. But it would fit more in the vein of what it seems like he's trying to avoid, if that makes sense.
I don't mind any of that, Mike. And artistically, that would make him more like Prince. But with that, also that being said, it's like, well, when you do that, make sure that it's dope.
I think Nas also understands that nothing he is going to make currently is going to supersede what we feel like are his dopest moments. And he's okay with that.
Well, you need to be okay with that, Mike, because it's like there's no chance of that happening. His dopest moments are some of the dopest moments ever, and he knows that too.
Yeah.
So I think that that's the goal either. I don't think he's trying. How about this? You don't have to not work with somebody like Alchemist to like nobody's asking you to recreate the memory. It's like, dude, you sound doper over certain tracks. Like, period. Like, It's not a thing of trying to recreate a memory or have you make something off Illmatic or Stillmatic or It Was Written or God's Son. It's not that. It's like, dude, you sound better on those break loops.
But see, like you said, those break loops, those tracks that you're talking about, they have a date on them. You know what I mean? Like, those elements were used in a certain time period.
I mean, but Mike, that's what I brought up Derringer and Beat Butcher from Griselda.
Right.
Well, ain't they showing you that like that kind of time date is getting recycled right now and is current? Like, what I'm saying is that I understand he's using Hit Boy right now, but part of the sound that he sounds great on has become current again.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be ignored by him either. Like, the sound that he sounds great on is current again on the scene.
But he's also a man in his late 40s, early 50s, too.
Is he in his late 40s?
Yeah, he's got to be. Yeah, he's got to be. I think he's 72. Yeah.
73.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Brother born in 12. Yeah. He's 73.
Yeah, fetus. Yeah. 73.
So yeah. So he's in his late 40s. You know what I mean? So he's not gonna be out there on stage with Griselda just busting. You know, that's just not where he is as a person at this point. You know what I mean?
No, I mean. So understand though, like, part of what his lore is that he's a rap prodigy. He can never forget that he's a rap prodigy. Even as a rap vet and senior and legend and arguably greatest MC of all time, you can never forget that your legacy and your aura is bigger than the fact that you're like a hip hop prodigy to people because of how you rap on those break loops. And sometimes it's just good to maybe give them a track or two. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying do it all the time, Mike. I'm saying, like, there's nothing wrong with Hit Boy doing 10 tracks and getting a track from Alchemist.
And I think that's one thing that's one thing that.
Why can't you do a 14-song album and go get one beat from Derringer, one beat from Havoc, one beat from Alchemist, one beat from Dre, call it a day? What's wrong with that?
He doesn't want to. I think that's one thing that Jay-Z has done better than him is the fact that Jay never really tied himself down to a sound. I think if we had to tie Jay to a sound, it would probably be that Just Blaze Kanye era. But again, even during that era, he had, songs like Give It To Me out there. He had songs like Change Clothes out there, La La La. He had Big Pimpin', he had Hey Poppy and all this stuff. So it's like he was able to do a whole bunch of different things where it wasn't like people were like, yo, man, I need that 1,000,001 J. Or I need that The Evil's J.
So Mike, where you think that he did it better, I would argue with you that everything that you're saying is why I prefer Nas, but prefer Nas, and his stature for me has grown slightly more over Jay over time. Like I always preferred Nas, but over time it's grown. And it goes to what you speak to, because Mike, when I go back and listen to a lot of those Jay records, they sound very flimsy. And then when I mean flimsy in the sense that it sounds very dated. Whereas when you go back to listen to certain Nas records, it sounds kind of timeless.
Oh yeah, Illmatic is timeless.
Yeah, so like Nas makes timeless hip hop records. Jay makes records for the times.
You know, and even though Reasonable Doubt, I think is to me, it's Jay's best album, right? It has timeless moments,
yes,
but it still sounds like how do I say it? Kind of like, I don't want to say artifacts. It sounds old. It does. You know what I mean?
Mike, it does.
And I don't want to say it sounds dated per se, but it sounds like it sounds like fine wine, like when something has aged. You know what I'm saying? Like aged wine. Whereas Illmatic doesn't. It sounds current, you know?
Mike, that's very, very appropriate. When you're listening to Reasonable Doubt, you're feeling like you're popping open like a very like intense vintage wine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Illmatic, like when New York State of Mind comes on, it's like, oh, that nigga Nas on some rap shit.
Because even the way that Jay is rhyming on A Reasonable Doubt, that style went out. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way he's flowing, y'all niggas touching, punching the block, my function is to make munching, lay back munching. That's 96, 95-ish rapping. You know what I'm saying?
I was actually about to say, Mike, to be honest with you, it was actually almost a little dated.
It was.
When he did it, it's just, he was brilliant.
He was just super dope. And he was just super lyrical. But yeah.
He wasn't super dope. He was brilliant. It was brilliant, the shit he was saying.
Mike, he had to change his style. He had to.
No, Mike, the style is total. Like, Mike, from 1,000,001 Questions, you can hear.
Mm-hmm.
Motherfuckers can't rhyme no more about crime. Yeah,
he had to change his style.
He already knew.
And, you know, but again, Reasonable Doubt sounds like a vintage piece. And it's timeless because of who he became and how consistent he was after that. But yeah, it's not timeless in the way that Illmatic is. No, and I say that respectfully.
How about this? Like, you think One Time for Your Mind is the weakest song on Illmatic, right?
Yes.
Like, that's way better than, like, Cashmere Thoughts and Ain't No Nigga.
I don't know about that.
Like, you think Cashmere Thoughts is better than One Time for Your Mind? Like, even beat-wise.
I actually do.
I don't even think beat-wise. Like rhyme-wise, maybe. I love Jay's rhyme on
Arrow
Cashmere.
Flynn, high like heroin, young pussy steroid when I pimp to your barber win. I gotta keep your chicks in yeah, I like Cashmere Thoughts more.
No, life's short, so play hard and stick hard, and the only time you love them is when you dick hard. No. That's hustler-ass Jay on Cashmere Thoughts. But what I'm saying to you is that when you go listen to that record, it's like that shit sound old, Mike.
It does.
And what keeps you is Jay. And when you listen to One Time for Your Mind, it doesn't sound old. It sounds timeless. Difference.
Yeah. What's the song with Memphis Bleak? I'm
Coming of Age.
Coming of Age.
Same thing with Coming of Age. Coming of Age, matter of fact, on Reasonable Doubt.
That song
that's
sounds
the weak point of Reasonable Doubt, actually.
Yeah.
Production-wise, because even with Friend or Foe, how about this? Friend or Foe is one of Primo's weakest tracks that gets revered. Because that beat's not great. It's just that Jay's great because ain't nobody talked like that on record before about that type of situation.
Right.
Like, everybody got on record and talked about that type of conflict live on wax.
And then the conversational way that he does it is just, you know, it's brilliant. It's more about him than the beat.
Right. And so if you listen to Reasonable Doubt, beat-wise, from track 9, which is Ain't No Nigga, until you get to, I think, is Regrets. Like 9, 10, 11, 12, and production-wise, and
But I love the way they treat Reasonable Doubt, and Jay and the whole Rockefeller staff have done a great job of keeping the aura of that album up. Like they treat it like it's a piece of art. I mean,
No,
which it is, but you know what I mean.
Mike, the aura is well deserved. Nobody's ever talked like that. I told you, Mike, when I heard that album and I really listened to it, I was like, this nigga going to jail. You can't talk like this on record. You can't talk like this on record. This was 96, Mike. Ain't nobody talked like that before.
Yeah.
Like Cool G Rap, Ice-T, like a lot of people talked about the lavishness and the lifestyle of the game. Like this dude was talking about kidnapping somebody who we hustle with, baby mother. This dude was talking about...
It's very detailed.
Mike, on Friend of Foe, he talking about moving somebody that's been hustling on his block, off his block, like, you better get the fuck out of here before mine start handling ours. Like, had nobody talked like that on record before? And so, like, the aura, like the way they keeping it up, no, that shit is well-deserved. Mike, I was happy when In My Lifetime Volume 1 came out. I was like, oh, he free?
Do you think Jay-Z gonna drop something next Friday, too? Since, you know, he's consistently dropped something on the same day that Nas drops. I know Kanye's supposed to be dropping next Friday too, so we should have an action-packed show next Friday.
Mike, I didn't know what a fraud Willie gambling his re-up was until Can I Live.
Yeah, man. Jigga.
Started G up. I was like, what? I was like, what? I was like, we had the tables that started G up.
Great album.
Mike, you been to Vegas, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
The table started like $15, $25. In 96, he talking like, meet me at the tables that start the G up.
Well, yeah, that's in the back rooms. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's somewhere else.
Glass off, Mike, where's glass off where security sitting outside and can't, no.
Yeah, that's what a real
real
gamblers are at.
Like, that's what I'm saying, Mike. You got to drop $25,000, $50,000 to walk in those rooms.
Exactly. You do.
Right.
You know what? Let me cut this down because I know we're like an hour in and we could go on this like forever. What are you expecting from King's Disease 2 next week?
I'm expecting actually it to be better.
You expect it to be better than the first one. You were very high on the first one too.
No, I wasn't high on the first one. I felt like it was appropriate because I felt like he had updated himself with the times and given the people something that they can listen to. Like, I'm not in love with King's Disease. It's one of those projects that I respect and I like. I love the songs that I love on there. I love Full Circle. I love 10 Points. I love All Bad. 27 Summers is probably my favorite. I play Spicy when I want to put, let the sunroof back right around or whatever, like the rest of them, like Mike Epps did on the Instagram post. Right. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't like my shit. That's not the Nas I love. You know that. Like I love the Nas you love, Mike. I've been playing Silent Murder ever since he dropped it, just because it's dope to hear the record from beginning to end. Like that's still the Nas that I love. So I'm still playing Silent Murder, but I expect something that's a little bit more hip hop oriented and not trying so hard. Because here's what I think that he did. It's like he got his Grammy. He is very current right now. And I'm going to tell you something that like Tupac used to do. He used to always say, like, I'm making the records for the chicks so I can pull the people into the mission. And so it's like you 25 years in the game. You want a nice run. You got people's attention. You don't have to try too hard to stay current with this one, especially if you have Hit Boy. So I expect this project to be a little bit more seamless. Like, King's Disease is dope, but King's Disease feels put together still. Does that make sense?
Right.
I expect this to feel more seamless.
Because they got a rhythm going.
Yeah, they got a rhythm. Like the song sequence on King's Disease isn't brilliant.
One thing I do like about Hit Boy and Nas, and I don't know what the relationship is like, you know what I'm saying, in the studio or whatever, but they celebrate together, they hang with each other. I don't know if it's one of those, like, big brother, little brother type of situations or whatnot, like OG, my little man, whatever. But I think that is cool that Nas has a producer that is younger than him, that looks up to him like we all do, that he really is there with. They're not just hooking up him, sending him beats. They kicking it together. You know what I'm saying? And so the chemistry, no matter how we feel about the way their collaborations are, like, I guess on paper, the chemistry is out of this world. They're making what they want to make together.
So that's why King's Disease 2 should sound better, Mike.
Exactly.
Because, like, Nas even spoke to, I mean, and I don't think people know this, Hit Boy wasn't originally slated to produce all of King's Disease the first time. Nas was just coming for a track or two.
You know what? I don't mean to interrupt you, but while it was on my mind, we talked about this last week. I think Common or somebody's listening to our show. I don't know. But Common got on an interview with Fake Short Drive this week and said that he wishes that him and Kanye could have made a third album together. Now, what is the chances of that? Now,
I could have sworn we were just saying that.
We were just talking about that, yes. But anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
Come holler at us, Common. But anyway, I was going to say...
Mike, all jokes aside, I listened to Beef from beginning to end for the first time in a long time today. My daughter's is about to start high school.
Mm-hmm.
That album came out, you know what I'm saying, before she was born, but like I was playing it today while we were riding and stuff. And it's like, yeah, Mike, it's the masterpiece.
It's brilliant.
Masterpiece.
I was gonna say though, I think that that's one of the gifts and curses in hip hop when it comes to a producer getting super big and getting stretched to a point where they're not as accessible. Because I think Common spoke to that. He said schedules what stopped them from making that third album together, and maybe Nas really likes the accessibility that he has to somebody like a Hit Boy and is able to really kick it with him and hang, because Common and Kanye can't do that.
Well, I was about to say Nas is still old school too, so he might like to lounge in the studio.
Right.
And he is also older, so he might not be with the cookie cutter chop paste, come in on a 4-hour block.
Right.
You know, see you tomorrow or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or I got to fly. He might not be with that, and so that's what I'm saying. He talked about how they just kind of caught a vibe together, and he just kind of ended up staying and chilling. And Mike, what's crazy about it, when you listen to King's Disease, here's why I expect it to sound better. He said something very key that I've never heard him say in all his years. He talked about how he was just like writing like to a certain point and then kind of freestyling the rest and kind of like just punching in.
Well, he said that. I remember him saying that back in like 98. And this was like one of those MTV specials. They had this weird combination of a round table where it was RZA, Nas, Mace, and Wyclef. And they were talking about their creative process. And Nas was saying that same process he used for I Am. I guess it came up because RZA was talking about it. He was like, Bobby Digital, I just spit them out, punch in, blah, blah, blah. And Nas was like, I did the same thing or whatever. So, yeah.
So I think he likes the vibe and likes the flow of that. Mike, you might have said something with that. That might bring him back to a comfortability when he was like in his prime.
Right.
In terms of like how the flow's working with Hit Boy.
And the thing is, too,
also, too, he said something else very key that I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Hit Boy was telling him what to keep and what to leave out, Mike. And I think that's very important about keeping him current. Like, no. Don't spit that shit.
It's kind of like what Andre 3000 was saying in that clip, where a lot of people, we posted on According to Hip Hop, a lot of people disagreed with what Dre had to say. I agree with what he had to say in a sense where, I'm not saying that older artists can't go out there and make hip hop, but hip hop music is always going to be dominated by the younger generation because they are engulfed in what's going on. They're just in touch. And you can be older and, be in tune with what's going on, but you're not as in tune as somebody who is of a younger demo who is in it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the things as a producer he's probably looking for, because if he works with some of the older guys that we are accustomed to hearing him with, they're not totally in touch with some of those things. And they're stuck in their ways as how they create. Where I think that Hit Boy will probably listen to him a little bit more too.
No, Mike, you make a very valid point because when you go to some of his projects in the mid 2000s, like the stuff I'd say from 2005 to up to the point of Life is Good, a lot of those are like current rap producers, and a lot of those albums didn't play as well, which is why people are hesitant about Nas. People aren't hesitant about 94, 98 Nas in terms of producers, really. It's really just Nostradamus in that mid 2000s period.
Right.
Because there's like the early stuff, stellar. That early 2000s, stellar. Everything, Mike. This is a great run.
Incredible run, I think, especially at this point in his career.
Mike, everything since Life is Good, with the exception of the Lost Tapes 2, has been dope.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. Everything that he's dropped in the last 9 years has been dope, with the exception of one project, and we're talking about 5 projects.
And Lost Tapes 2, correct me if I'm wrong. Those were Def Jam songs that were left over, right?
Yeah, Mike. Those. I think he said that those were sessions that went up until Life is Good.
Okay. So, you got to put that in context too, because a lot of his best efforts aren't with Def Jam. So we're talking about stuff that didn't make the album from that Def Jam period. So I think for that to be considered, it actually was a decent effort.
No, I mean, so that's what I'm saying. If you're actually looking at his last 4 full release length projects, Mike, I mean, counting King's Disease 2, which I'm expecting to be like if it's not as good as King's Disease, I expect it to be like right at the same level, notch below, notch above.
Right.
I mean, Mike, ain't nobody this late ran like that.
And, I think he's playing it smart. Again, I'm not a huge fan of him and Hit Boy because I know, the Nas that I like and, what he's made to make me a super fan. But I understand it. I understand, as far as like the current sound and just really being someone that a current hip hop fan could take in. You know what I'm saying? Where it doesn't sound like their parents' music.
I remember a few years ago when they were doing I don't remember. I think it was the NFL draft and they were having it in New York.
Mm-hmm.
They played New York State of Mind by Nas. This was the record was already 20 years old, and this is what I mean about him being current. When he dropped King's Disease, I remember literally the next week watching NBA Countdown on ESPN. The background music playing was Car 85.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Nas hasn't never really had it like that. That's something that Snoop has had, that Jay has had, that Luda's had, that Tip has had. So, he's getting a whole nother type of play with Hit Boy. He just got his first Grammy. He just got, behind the scenes on ESPN immediately. And not with some of his old boom back, drum kick, break loop music.
Right.
Current. And so, he's not, like I said, Mike, he's ahead. He's paying attention to that, too. And he might be looking at it well, I already got all that other stuff in the bag.
Exactly.
Maybe I can go put this in the bag too. Maybe I can go back Grammy these fools.
Exactly. And you know what? And I think that we look at it as fans, but him as an artist and as a person, he can't relive 94. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to make music for now.
And also too, Mike, what if he does back-to-back Grammys?
I think he has a really big possibility to do so.
Yeah, because he has a current notoriety now. As a businessman, as an investor, he has legendary status as an MC. He just dropped a dope project last year. He checks a lot of bare boxes now that he didn't check earlier in his career. You know?
Right. I mean, I think we possibly have an album of the year on our hands. And speaking of that, I know that we're an hour and 15 minutes in, but
hold on,
I know we got to wrap it up. But I do want to talk about the Isaiah Rashad. What were you gonna say?
No, and I want to say this too. I do expect this album and Ye's album to be an album of the year contender. Both of these albums should be album of the year contenders. I told you Mike, I told you Ye shit was getting pushed back. But Mike, I also too, so if you want to segue to the Isaiah Rashad and just cut the Nas talk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mike, on my second listen, I don't know for certain that Tyler's album is better than Isaiah Rashad's
I
album.
was thinking that too.
So when you're talking about like, so when you told me that it's like, yeah, this is a top 5 rap album, I was thinking to myself, like, Mike, I just got done, like literally 10 minutes before you called in, I just got done listening to it in full for the second time, and I was like, shit, this sounds like the rap album of the year to me. I think this might be a little bit better than Tyler's album from beginning to end.
I like it. I like it. Maybe we should have started the show with that. But hey, I think we could do it.
Mike,
I think we could do a short
I mean,
on that during the week. But yeah.
No, Mike, for real, the album dope enough that if you want to keep talking, we can keep talking because like the album dope like that.
Yeah, man, I love it. It was an easy listening project. I think I told you offline before we went live. If Kendrick would have responded with these same tracks, these same songs, and this was Kendrick on here and not Isaiah Rashad, this would have been a very suitable, response to Damn.
So
that's
Mike,
how good this is.
So I'm gonna tell you how good it was to me, just in terms of how my mind was working. By the time I got to, hold on, what's track 6?
Track 6 is
Headshots,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
By the time I got done with Headshots, I was like, hold on. I was like, this. The second time, I was like, this is better than Sky Zoo's start. Sky Zoo's start is pretty dope.
Sky Zoo's record is really, really dope. I'll just put it on real quick. Yeah, man. Yeah.
And so let's speak a couple things about the album that he did wonderfully. First of all, you hear an artist, because he's from Chattanooga, and Mike, he's got all his musical influences down in terms of how he likes to express them. That's one of the brilliant things about this album. So let me speak to this, because I know you hear it too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you hear Outkast on here?
Yep.
You hear UGK, you hear 3-6, you hear Goody. Like, you can hear all the historical acts that have come out of the South, and you can hear how they have influenced him. But Mike, listen to me when I say this, and influenced him well.
Oh yeah.
As in, he pulling their shit off well. And this is what I'm gonna say. The same thing that Big Crit gets a lot of credit for. Let me bring up 8 Ball and MJG too, in that, and everybody I just named before, because I heard some 8 Ball and MJG shit too.
Yeah.
The same thing Crit get credit for. Isaiah Rashad need to get credit for it too. And I think this might be better than any of Crit's projects, Mike.
I think it might be. I know Crit fans are gonna kill us for this, but
they don't kill us. Might be.
It might
be.
Need
some time to burn, but it's the same vibe. But Mike, the execution of the interpretation of a previous style and era, and updating the formula and making it current, and still keeping your style your own.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my! Ooh.
The content's there. The lyricism's there. I love the features. I mean, it's all over the place.
The production, Mike.
Yep.
The production is there.
It is. I think this is an album of the year candidate. I do. I didn't even want to feel like I was jumping the gun, because we've got some pretty good albums. And see, the thing is, with the Tyler had an energy that hit you right away. This one builds. So I know when I hit you and was telling you about, the Tyler and like, yo, this might be album of the year or whatever, that was because, it hits you immediately. Now, I need to listen to both of these back to back. I still might give Tyler the edge, but this is very close. This is not a wash.
So I agree with most of your sentiments. After getting done listening to it the second time, my immediate thought was I'm going to have to play this again next to Tyler, because I'm going to give Tyler a slight edge right now. But when I listen to it, it's like I'm putting it right next to Tyler. So I'm going to play it right next to Tyler. But it's like that. And Mike, I told you about track 6. I was like, this is better than Sky Zoo's album. I had Sky Zoo's album as the second best album this year after Tyler's album, which means by the time I got to track 6, I had already evaluated the fact that I thought it was going to be better than Cole and Conway's album.
Well, you know what? Interesting, man. I think that it's a very, very good top 3. We talking about Tyler, we talking about Isaiah Rashad, and we talking about Sky Zoo's album. That's a very strong top three. That's not a top three that I guess anybody would have been able to really predict,
No,
you
who would have
know, ahead
predicted
of
that?
time. And especially, you know what? I don't want to get on this soapbox either, but we talk about Cole and have so many expectations for Cole. And there was a lot of hype around this album, and he went out there and did what people wanted him to do and got other producers, and he still didn't make the dopest album of the year. What
So okay,
what say you about that? Like, what does that say? Are we putting
Mike.
Cole further than we should, or
So Mike, I told you we need to start having a conversation about where he should be properly rated
right?
because legendary MCs release legendary material, and that's what I'm saying. That doesn't mean
And
not
he's
a
in
Hall
his
of
prime too. It's not like he's past his prime.
That doesn't mean he's not a Hall of Fame MC. That doesn't mean he doesn't do Hall of Fame shit. But what I'm saying is when people talk about Cole, people talk about him like he's a Hall of Famer, the caliber of like Akeem Olajuwon.
People talk about him, and we can do all
Like,
kind of sports analogies, but let's just keep it a
Right.
buck.
Not
People
that
talk
kind of
about
Hall of
him like he's put out the albums that Kendrick has put out, and that's not the truth.
It's not the truth, and that's what I mean. It's like catalog gonna speak at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're really speaking off skill set. How about this, Mike? It's like let's bring it back around to where we started with Lupe.
Mm-hmm.
Forest Hill Drive is better than the Cool and Food and Liquor. But Lupe got two projects. What Cole doesn't have a second project that's better than the Cool or Food and Liquor. Now, does he?
He does not.
So, but he is somebody traditionally is considered to be somebody that's ahead or above Lupe now, isn't he?
He is.
And that's what I mean about how we need to properly rate him. We maybe need to push him back somewhere where we have Lupe.
Do you think that a big part of why he's rated so high is just because of the timing that he came in with? Like coming in with Drake and Kendrick and being the first artist on Rock Nation and just all of those things just kind of aligning themselves?
Some of it with him and Kendrick have to do with the fact there weren't a lot of dope ass lyricists around at the time.
And they were a breath of fresh air at the time.
We were a breath of fresh air, period. So yeah, that has a lot to do with it. But Kendrick gave the projects that validated the feeling and the claims.
Oh, definitely.
Outside of Forest Hills, Cole hasn't done that. And so he's got some really good projects. But it's like I said, Mike, Lupe has two really dope projects. And Cole has one borderline classic. That's about the same thing to me. Yeah. And so when we're talking about him, maybe we need to be talking about him as a top tier MC and lyricist, the caliber of a Lupe, that doesn't necessarily have the catalog, much like Lupe.
Is Forest Hill Drive better than Damn?
No.
Is Forest Hill Drive better than To Pimp a Butterfly?
You better stop that. You can't go further back.
Is Forest Hill Drive better than Section 80?
Mike, Damn and Section 80 are the weak points, and it's not better than those. I told you, Mike, Section 8, how about this? If you wanted to say that Section 80, that Forest Hills is better than Section 80, I'll give you that. But it's not better than Damn. It's not better than Pimp a Butterfly.
Mm-mm.
It ain't touching Good Kid, Mad City, Mike. Good Kid, Mad City got a feel, Mike.
Yeah.
No.
Good Kid, Mad City is a once-in-a-lifetime or once-in-an-era album.
Like, it's got a feel. Certain classic albums has feel. The College Dropout has a feel. Good Kid, Mad City has a feel. Illmatic has a feel. The Purple Tape got a feel. Aquemini got a feel. Certain classics got a feel.
Now, let me ask you this, though. I mean, since we're saying what we're saying about Cole, would you put Cole ahead of Drake?
In the totality of things, Mike, it would be hard to do that.
It's hard to do that. Because there's a lot of people that we could say, quote unquote, rap better than Drake, but that don't make them better.
Because Mike, if you want to look at it, at best, he's been second best at what he does, and that he's a lyricist. And Drake has definitely been the best hit maker that rap's ever seen.
And you're not putting Cole ahead of Rick Ross.
No, Mike, I wanted to talk about Ross right quick too, as far as aging well. Nobody's aging from his era the way Ross is. He
No
played
one.
this game masterfully.
I think when it's all said and done. Oh, and
Nobody,
I know
everybody,
this is gonna
Mike, think
sound
about
bad
it,
to a
man.
lot of people. This is gonna sound bad to a lot of people, but when it's all said and done, we might need to put Ross ahead of Ti. We might need to put him ahead of Dwayne Carter too.
Mike, so this is what I mean. All of his contemporaries need to look at Ross right now
Mm-hmm.
and be like, man, this man had a business plan. He got away. Because here's the thing, Mike. You want to know how he's kept his health hot? He's ingratiated himself the right way with the artists and with the culture of this era. They all love and respect Ross and look up to Ross. So it ain't nothing Ross to get them on his songs and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you hear Ross everywhere.
Oh, and when he gets on the songs too, he doesn't shortchange them. Like, you're gonna get a dope record when Ross is on your record, like that Busta Rhymes record. Like,
Mike, every guest verse he did last year was fire, Mike. Mike, it was one of the best guest appearance verse years I've ever seen an MC have. A top 10, like if we're talking guest appearances, Ross's year last year was top 10.
And he got his own catalog. And he got
his own catalog.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I remember the conversation used to be Ross and Jeezy, man. It ain't even close, man. And I say that respectfully.
And I love Jeezy more than I love Ross. Just, you know what I'm saying? But you're right, Mike. It's not a conversation. And that's what I'm saying. As time goes on, he's lessening the conversation with all of his contemporaries because, quite frankly, none of his contemporaries are as current as he is still.
No.
He's still very much viable. Like, think about it, Mike. Gibbs got records from him. Like, Mike, I told you, like, our top 20 rap albums last year, I think he was, like, on 6 to 8 of them.
And
he was on good shit.
And it fit like a glove. None of that stuff seemed forced.
It didn't sound out of place to hear him, like, over here, like, with Future. Or to hear him over here with Lil Baby. Like, he's never out of place or out of pocket either, very much like Big.
Yeah.
Never out of place and out of pocket.
Yeah. And I've said this many a times. If Big would have lived, I see at this point in Big's career, maybe over the past 10 years, he probably would have been rhyming over the stuff that Ross was rhyming over.
Right.
I could see that.
Not too many people can give Busta Rhymes and Freddie Gibbs totally different energy and deliver. Like, those were two of the better records last year. I told you, Mike, Scotty Beam was probably my favorite rap record last year. Fard Muhammad wasn't far behind.
That song was crazy. Both of them.
And you like, I'm about to say, you like Fard Muhammad more than you like Scotty Beam, don't you?
I do. But I was just listening to Pray for Paris, as I often do. I think George Bondo's the best song of last year. It's crazy, man. It's just crazy.
When I'm saying Scotty Beam, no. So when I'm saying Scotty Beam was my favorite rap song last year, that's my shit.
Yeah. No.
So when you talking about George Bondo, Mike, I told you, when I listened to Conway's album, what I tell you the difference between Pray for Paris and
George Bondo. You know what?
I said one album got George Bondo and one album doesn't.
George Bondo's gaining on Brutus for me.
Mike, I told you when George Bondo came out that it was a conversation, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's legit.
That shit is gaining. Yeah.
Because you want to know why, Mike? Because it's not that the beat's better. The beat has a more classic, long-standing, over time feel.
Yeah.
And also, too, it's more balanced because even though they're all great on Brutus, Conway's just berserk on Brutus. So even though you love Benny and Westside on Brutus, you're still waiting to get to Conway. Oh, on George Bondo, you ain't waiting for nothing, Mike.
Yeah, on George Bondo, Westside's better than he is on Brutus.
And hold on, Mike, and that was probably his best verse up to that point. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They kind of upped the ante on George Bondo. It's just that Conway is bananas on Brutus, man.
He is, man. He is.
Like, that's a Biggie type of verse.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to it when the show's off. I mean, I'm gonna listen to both of them. George Bondo's cleaner, but Brutus just has that grimy grit to it.
Like, it still sounds like they in the street a little bit in Brutus.
Yeah, but George Bondo is those guys coming together, and you feel like, yo, they could still do this.
You want to know what? It kind of feels very like it feels like Wu-Tang Forever-ish, but like on one of the better songs.
We need, I don't know if you were watching the NBA draft last night, and Benny the Butcher spoke to this on his Instagram, and he was talking about his different endorsements, and he did like a theme song for the NBA draft. And, it looks like Griselda is getting a lot of attention. I mean, they were getting a lot of attention last year, too, with the Rock Nation brunch before COVID hit and all that. And I think a lot of their core fans, myself included, you get kind of concerned about, a lot of mainstream appeal, and I get it. People got to do what they got to do. Get as big as you can, cash as big of checks as you can, but you just don't want it to affect the music. Saying that to be said, we need another George Bondo soon, just to remind people that even with all this going on, we still get to it. That's what Wu-Tang Forever was, and that's what Triumph was, where Wu-Tang had gotten bigger than anything. They still showed people that, we can still come together and bomb atomically Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses.
No, Mike, you're right, too, because actually, I mean, like, if you look at Conway and Benny's projects, Warpaint and Spurs 3, they're, like, good, but it's like when you hear George Bondo at the beginning of the year and then 98 Sabres towards the end of the year, you're like, give me that, though. Like, I'm going to take those records, but give me.
Yeah.
Give me that. Yeah. Like, if you got that in the bag, go get that. Give me that.
But you know what, man? It's going to take Westside to do it. Westside's the one that keeps all of these guys grounded, sounds like. And it's no mistake that, he was the executive producer of, From a King to a God.
From King to a God, Pray for Haiti, right.
Yeah, Pray for Haiti, too. But, yeah, I mean, it's like, I think that to get that record, and not just saying it's because George Bondo was his record, but to get a record like that, we're going to get it on a Westside Gunn project. It's not going to come on anybody else's. He somehow is able to get that grit out of everybody. I don't know if it's the production or what, but we need one of those in 2021. We definitely do, because as much as I like Conway's project, ain't no George Bondos on there. Ain't none.
I mean, so, like I said, this is what I mean, like, on my rap shit. So if I'm ranking my 3 best rap songs last year, for me, it's probably Jesus Christ, Scotty Beam, George Bondo in that order. So it's not like Conway didn't have, like, something on there, because I think Jesus Christ is, like, one of the best performances on the mic ever. Ever.
Yeah, he went crazy on there. And don't get it fucked up. Like, From a King to a God was grimy. It was everything. And if it wasn't for Pray for Paris, it would have been Album of the Year.
I'm going to make it messy. Niggas keep trying to block my goals. I'm going to make it messy.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. Sonically, it was everything.
Mike, that's the highest level.
Yeah, that's Rakim level.
The highest level.
Yeah, that's Rakim level. So
that's what I'm saying, Mike. That's the highest level. That's that Nas shit. That's that big shit. That's that Rakim shit.
Yeah.
That's 97 Hove, to quote Benny off Tana Talk.
And and that's what we need. Like, I think that we expect what we expect from Westside, and we know Westside's gonna deliver something. Burden of Proof. The fans liked it, but some fans felt like, myself included, that he could do better. And if we get those records, we need that on the next Benny record. We do.
So here's the thing, and here's what I mean when you're saying, like, well, Hit Boy can't get grimy. It's like, no. I seen some things on Benny's albums, like Sly Green.
Right.
Sly Green and Warpaint gave me, like, something to maybe feel like, it's like, no. He can, like, you want to know who used to do really gutter records like that sounded kind of clean? Dame Grease.
Yeah.
Like, I saw some Dame Grease on those 2 tracks, on Warpaint and on Sly Green. Like, I saw, like, some Dame Grease, Nasheem Myrick, like, type of capability.
Nasheem Myrick definitely could do it.
Nasheem Myrick's my favorite producer nobody ever talks about from that era. Like, yeah.
He was dope. One of my favorites was Carlos Brody.
Brody's dope too.
And I didn't realize that he was working with Royce in the capacity that he does. He made that Royce record that was going to Lupe.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's
Yeah, I
on
like
Supreme Clientele a few times, and yeah, he was one of my favorites from that era. I think the guy that nobody talks about whose production I loved was Juju. I never understand why
I think you
people.
about to go there. Juju from the beat.
I don't understand why people don't work with folks like that more. Juju's fucking nuts. No pun intended.
No. I think it was just the times. He
Mhm.
was kind of somewhere else that everybody else wasn't. So you had to be like a Pun or a Ghostface, somebody who's like super creative, lyrical, and imaginative to really take on the task.
Right.
So I think just wrong era. I think he would have done better, and I think he would have done better 5 years later.
I would love to interview Juju, man. We should reach out to him. But yeah, I think
didn't Juju produce one off Supreme Clientele?
he did.
I mean, okay, so that's arguably the best beat on Supreme Clientele, which is one of the best rap albums ever.
It's definitely one of the best beats on there. It was like crash through, break the glass, Tony with the goalie mask. That's the pass, heavy ice, Rolly laying on the grass. Love the dash, cauliflower hurting when I dump the trash. Sour man. Oh my God.
Mike,
Sunsplash, autograph with your name.
Mike, I remember the first time I heard one, Mike, I was like, who cooked this crack up for Ghost? Like, I was like, 'cause that ain't RZA.
You know, the first time I heard one is when I knew.
I heard one before Clientele. I heard Mighty Healthy, Follow Kids, and one before Supreme Clientele.
So we were in, I think I was in high school. And this was when Ron, shout out to Ron, first started driving. He had this Pontiac or whatever, this Grand Am, and he was playing this, and I was like, yo, this album's crazy. I gotta get this. But one was the record that did it. Like, because it started off with Nutmeg. I was like, this is dope. But when one came on, I was like, whoa.
Mike.
Yeah.
You and everybody else.
Right.
Like, you heard Nutmeg, and you was like, Wu-Tang back. You heard one, you like, this nigga goes crazy. This about to be great.
And then he was murdering it too, man. Like I said, that one part on the second verse where he just kept going, I was like, whoa.
And people don't understand this. On that track, and this the third, there's the intro, there's Nutmeg, which is track 2, and then there's 1. Oh, the way he's spazzing on 1, you had never really heard Ghost spaz like that.
And he was having fun with it. We get the weed gate, waiting for Jake. We bought 8 ravioli bags, 2 thirsty villains yelling belly aches, heavyweight rhyme writers. Like, whoa, what is this? Pull out the kite for this white bitch, talk about dead ghost. You the only nigga I know.
Like when the cops come, you never hide your toast. Get started, mad shit, CDL, ice, water, metallic. Like, what? I'm like, what? I'm like, this
Drew Hill bitches. Yo.
I was like, he's crazy.
That guy on that song is my favorite MC ever, man. Like, nobody raps like that.
Like, I was like, hold on. I'm like, he ahead of niggas right now. I was like, he done showed up ahead of niggas.
You know, I feel like certain zones like that, like Ghost on Supreme Clientele, Redman on Muddy Waters, I would say Busta Rhymes on ELE, like those moments, even it didn't matter who was on these songs.
Mike, Redman on Muddy Waters and Ghost on Supreme Clientele is a very, very accurate comparison.
It's like it didn't matter who would have been on these songs. They would have been rapping circles around them.
Mike, I tell people, one of Method Man's best performances ever is on Do What You Feel.
And it didn't matter.
No. That's why I try to tell people, it's like, no, I don't think you understand who Redman is in 96 on Muddy Waters.
Yeah.
I
be that super lyrical individual. I be spitting through that Teflon material to blow a bit off the schedule. Yeah, he was somewhere else, man. I loved him on Big Brother too, man.
He's somewhere else in 96 on Muddy Waters, Mike.
Yo, it's the Funk Doctor Spot, the punk cock lyricist. My mentality so deaf, yo, I ain't even hearing this shit. Biscuits be cocking back when I be coming. Yo.
I don't know what he was smoking when he made Muddy Waters, Mike. Woo!
He was going crazy. I listened to Muddy Waters
Mike,
from beginning to
Mike,
end.
Mike, that's probably one of the more underrated lyrical performances of all time that never gets talked about.
It's because of the year it came out. I mean, it was just a very dense year, but yeah.
So how about this? If we're talking lyrical performances on the mic, Mike, it would only be like, it's only because of It Was Written in Reasonable Doubt, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and that's just more so a content conversation. But if we just talk about busting on the mic,
because Mike, I was about to say, because lyrically, Mike, I would argue with you that like Muddy Waters is probably better than Reasonable Doubt lyrically. Not It Was Written, but Reasonable Doubt. It's a conversation.
The long-faced murderer, serving over 2 billion motherfuckers a day like Mickey D. Circular, working ya, shifty hour like a burglar. My crew herbing ya like we never even heard of ya. There wasn't nobody rapping like that, man.
You don't want none of that. You don't want none of that.
Odds and evens. Yeah. So yeah, like when he was rapping like that and Ghostface on Supreme Clientele, like those are zones that we rarely get from MCs, and it didn't matter who was on those songs. It could have been the great Rakim Allah himself on Supreme Clientele.
Lyrically speaking for MCs, when you go back to 96, I want you to understand that like a lot of people were in the zone in 96. Nas, Jay, Black Thought, Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
Like
most definitely.
Yeah. A lot of people like Mike, that's a great lyrical MC, a Redman. Like Mike,
it really was.
No, like as far as MC and Mike, Iron Man came out in 96. That was Ghost's first run. Ray and Ghost on Iron Man in 96 are bananas.
The bar for MCing had just been totally pushed to a level that I don't think we've seen since. Even though I think 98 was a great year, it was more so songs. It wasn't, like you said, like just the straight up lyrical zones that we're talking about here. And I know you probably weren't a big fan of Busta Rhymes' ELE like that. But the way
was better to me, but
the way he was rapping on that album,
if you're talking style wise, what he was doing was super innovative.
It's nothing anybody could like. It didn't matter who was on there. I remember Mystical got on there and was spazzing, and he just came in there and did. At that time, we didn't expect Busta Rhymes to approach that record like that. Like he had rapped fast, but not fast like that. He upped the ante on every level.
No, he's special. I just think the songs on The Coming have a better feel, even though he's a better MC on ELE. But ELE is...
Oh, no. I feel you. I think The Coming's more timeless as far as, like, the actual songs. You talk about, the song with Janae was so dope.
It's a party with Janae. Yeah.
Abandoned Ship.
Flip Mode Squad meets...
Def Squad. I love Abandoned Ship. That's my
Abandoned Ship with Rampage niggas talk
shit. He went crazy.
Abandoned Ship. Right.
Yeah, he went crazy on that. Like, I rolled through those songs like a round of
Mike, you remember Wuha? Ain't nobody seen nothing like that, Mike. Like, including pattern and style-wise. So when you're talking about him on ELE, he did the same thing on The Coming. Like, Mike, that shit on the third verse of Wuha, which motherfucker stole my love?
Nobody was rapping like that.
Like when he did that, we was like, did he just, like what? Like what is that?
Well, that's the thing though. Busta Rhymes in that era, nobody had ever seen anything like that. And he switched it up, and I guess he had to do that for longevity purposes. But even with him switching it up, he was able to showcase himself more as an MC on, Disaster Strikes at ELE. But you're right. What we saw on The Coming was something very special that we're never going to see again. Like his verse on Hit 'Em High and how he was approaching Flavor in Your Ear. Like he was just different. Like you couldn't come after him no matter how dope you were on a record.
5 new flavors on beat.
He was
while we blow up the streets.
He was a showstopper. Like
no, he was a showstopper.
Yeah.
Mike, how about this? I always tell people it's like the scenario is the coming out party, but that Flavor in Your Ear remix verse, that's the showstopper, Mike.
Yeah. I mean, he was like a super rhyming old dirty, man. Like.
And here's the thing, too, Mike. Before The Coming was coming out, he was becoming infamous for crashing niggas' sessions.
Yeah.
Like, would come up in your session like
on some, give me the mic. Give me a shot.
I love that.
Yeah, hunger, man. Well, yeah, man. I can't wait until we speak about the albums that are dropping next week, man. I can't wait till next week, man. Next week's show, we're gonna be talking about King's Disease 2. Hopefully, we'll be talking about Donda as well, and probably whatever Jay-Z is gonna release. But I think
Mike, and I'm gonna understand. Hey, Mike, and understand who Nas is. Who the fuck else about to drop around Ye?
Well, I mean, yeah, he's Nas. He's a legend. Yeah.
Right. It's
Well,
like,
if not, if Ye wasn't gonna drop now, he kind of has to.
Oh, I mean, like I said, you know what I'm saying? How many people gonna sit up there and know that Ye? I mean, because we heard. I mean, Ye. We've been on 8-6 since he pushed it back.
Right.
You special when you drop and when Ye drop, because Ye's bigger than Nas in the scope of things worldwide.
Right.
Right.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to us being able to break it down. In the middle of the week, man, let's do something to talk about this Isaiah Rashad and Tyler the Creator. Let's both listen to these back to back and assess it and see what we really think, and we can actually kind of expand upon that and maybe like a 10-15 minute live and throw it on either YouTube or Facebook or something.
No, so real quick, I would have Tyler and Isaiah at a tie right now for album of the year. Skyzoo would be third with All the Brilliant Things, and then I would go to Conway and J. Cole.
Okay.
I listened to some tracks from the off season this past week, Mike. It is dope, Mike.
It's dope.
Pressure. I like applying pressure, Mike.
It's dope. It's dope, man. It's like, but again, I think the expectations of who he is.
But I don't like the rant at the end because the album's not great enough for the rant at the end.
Yeah. I'm going to go back and, you know what, let's do that too. I'm going to listen to all 5 of those.
Yeah.
I want to be fair and listen to all 5 of those. The Lloyd Banks, it was cool for the moment. I don't know how many legs it has on it. I'll give it a spin too. The Rosenberg album, it's very difficult to even put albums like that in the conversation, but I want to listen to that again too.
I listened to the Rosenberg a couple weeks ago. It's up there. It doesn't have the staying power that I thought it would have. It still has that mixtape-ish feel, which is essentially what it is. I will say this, and this is what I mean with the Cole. It's like, well, when you listen to Applying Pressure, Let Go My Hand, and Pride is the Devil, it's like, no, I mean, both. I mean, if those aren't home runs, Mike, those are all triples.
Yeah, Let Go My Hand is by far my favorite on there. And I think when it came out, most people were saying that Pride is the Devil was their favorite. So
me too. Yeah, Pride is the Devil was my favorite.
All right, man. Well, tomorrow we're going to be headed to this old school hip hop fest. Rakim, Karis One, Big Daddy Kane, Kool Mo D, and Kwame all on one show. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll be able to get some footage for you guys and ask some legends some really dope questions and have some really good conversations. So,
Mike, we're going to be in the building with the God, Glassmaster, and King Asiatic. Nobody's eating.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, I'm looking forward to next week's releases. And I'm looking forward to our conversation about this Isaiah Rashad versus the Tyler, because I think this deserves a more extended breakdown.
I'm with that.
Let's do it.
We need to run. I'm gonna listen to it again. I want to hear him back to back now, because truthfully, I didn't know.